think it was in 2009 when we first came up with the idea of social travel. We just opened up Wild Peeta Gourmet Shawarma and we were burnt out and we needed a break.
We woke up one morning and we actually didn't know where to go. We got on a plane, landed in Sri Lanka, and on the way we started talking to all our followers and we asked them what to do.
We kind of just cruised through one quarter of Sri Lanka, purely driven by instructions from our followers. And I think for the first time, it dawned on us that we kind of stumbled upon a new way of travel. So imagine traveling to a country and then what you do, who you meet, what you eat is determined by the connections that you make. So here's the thing, we're gonna travel to 12 cities. 12 trend-setting cities with the highest social media penetration in the world.
So you can actually travel with us, by the way. You can follow us on Google+, on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can be on this trip as well with Mohammed and I. And tell us some of the things that you'd like us to do. Some of the things you wanted to do and you couldn't do, we'd love to do that for you. So don't be a tourist, be a social traveler.
When we were growing up, we were actually accustomed to hearing Singaporean conversations related to Dubai, an ex-British colony newly independent and with a wild desire to grow.
And efficient about it, but not self-sufficient. It's a man-made city built on a rainforest with a tremendous dependency on imports.
Even its culture is a mixture of Indian, Chinese, and Malaysian.
We first came here in the 90s when we were younger, but I don't remember the old neighborhoods, distinct ethnicities, and unique food culture. I only remember the rules.
If Arabia was the land of 1001 nights, then Singapore was the land of 1001 rules, where even chewing gum was banned. So despite the cultural confluence, I still felt Singapore was missing depth, an overregulated city with too much of an obsession on perfection.
But here we are in Singapore again, this time with the power of social media to help us discover the true character of the city through its people.
We want to connect with real people pursuing groundbreaking ideas and passions, acting locally, thinking globally, and doing it with heart and soul. So what are we eating over here?
Starting off with some mezze, Turkish bread over here. What we have over here is a beetroot tzatziki. I use the word tzatziki quite loosely. It's beetroot with yogurt and some pistachio dukkha on the top. And then moving over here, we have your traditional labne with a little bit of za'atar on top.
And this one, that is special. What is that?
Now, this one's interesting. I tried to do this thing called tara masalata over here, which is a cod roe dip, you know, from the Mediterranean. Which is from Greece. And I could not find cod roe. So, ended up going with smoked salmon. Smoked salmon and cream cheese because it kind of gave that same flavor, the same smoky, fishy flavor.
The fishiness, the smokiness,
And then from there, it progressed into this. This is a smoked oyster, tara masalata.
Is that exciting to you? Like coming up with these recipes?
I get a lot of people coming up to me asking me, Bjorn, right? I want to open a restaurant. I want to quit my job and open a restaurant. I want to open a cafe. I want to open a cupcake shop. Give me some advice. My advice is don't do it.
And what do they say when you tell them that?
Like, why? I'm passionate and all that. I'm saying passion's the last thing you got to care about when you get in there, because 16-hour days, 7 days a week.
I hear you, man.
It's gonna grind down your passion very quickly.
And what is your reward?
My reward is everything that we're eating today has got some element that comes from there. The greatest problem with eating locally in Singapore is the fact that there's just not enough farmers who want to grow anything special or unique.
Farming is the core to any economy. We all started out from farming nations, and it's time to move back to that. I was trained in agriculture in the UK, and I came back wanting to start this urban farming thing. A year and a half ago, I met Bjorn, and he was really into supporting local agriculture, local food, and we met up.
Wait, how does this happen? You're called Bjorn, and the restaurant owner is called Bjorn as well, and you're both Singaporean.
Yes, I think during the 80s, you had ABBA and Bjorn Borg. So kind of the name came out from then.
You said urban farming, but define what that means.
It's farming in the urban spaces, on high rises, on the rooftops, where people go every day, you know? We have farms in Singapore. They're all kind of like in our countryside.
You still have a countryside?
We do, but it's very small and it's very, I guess, contrived in that sense. So I want to bring that farming thing right to the doorstep. So here we have just a variety of herbs built in hit and miss wall. So in Singapore, it's lack of space, so we put humans in high-rise buildings. We put vegetables in high-rise buildings as well. So
what are some of the stuff you're growing over here?
You know, things like sweet peppers, mint, Thai basil, sweet basil. So there's this huge variety just from a very confined, small space. And that's kind of the thing that we have to work around, the lack of space in Singapore. That's the only way forward to be a more sustainable, more self-contained economy.
And how can people do that? What are some ideas?
If you have some space, if you have maybe a rooftop space that is not being used at this moment, turn it into an urban farm. Grow some produce, connect with your local community, connect with the local restaurants, and ask if they are willing to buy your produce. And then you can start planning and become an urban farmer and drive the movement forward.
So Ibnor, the SL Squared Sustainable Living Lab, what is it exactly that you guys do here?
The Sustainable Living Lab is the innovation arm of GUI. People come here, experiment, explore with new materials, and come up with something very interesting. Some of the ideas that come here are really crazy. People are very open, they share ideas, and it's quite a waste if you have so much energy, a lot of good ideas, and they don't translate into something tangible.
Yeah.
So like one of the projects that we're going to make today is something called the Chinampa, and it's actually an ancient technology. So now that we have new materials like waste PET bottles, we are going to reuse them and create the floating Chinampa.
You're going to show us how to make this?
Yes.
Hey, look, it might look like a competition, but it's not.
Okay.
I'm still gonna
Mine
be
is going to be
faster
better.
Okay.
So this is really, really simple. Anybody can do it.
The hope is that kids can even do it, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
So these are the ingredients to make the soil.
Okay.
So first you want to put the banana leaves.
Okay, I'll get you some, Pete.
One thing about Singapore is that we don't have much food self-sufficiency. And also over here in Singapore, land is so expensive.
Yeah.
So why not we look at water? So the Chinampa is what we believe here at the kampong could be one step towards achieving food sufficiency. And it's actually an ancient technology. So the Mesoamericans, they live in environments with a lot of water bodies, lakes, etc. And what they did was they actually get mud, reeds, and grow food on them.
So we made these chinampas, these floating chinampas, and we put a bunch of dill stalks in here, and we plan to float them on the river, but as you can see, Singapore happened, and we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we rarely get this kind of heavy rain over here, but so why not we head over into the kampong and we cook something using the ingredients that we grow over here. Also, like a lot of the food that we get in Singapore is actually imported from other countries. This is a food security thing. If we do not value food and we do not value farming, cooking, the value of eating sustainably, then it will lead to a lot of like overconsumption, a lot of waste.
So this is the westmost part of Singapore. We are at Alpha Biofuels. This is where we make the biodiesel.
Is there anything like this, what we see over here, in the world?
No, this prototype is actually built by us. It took us 2 years to get things right. We actually wanted to be the one that drives this to be the fastest biodiesel machine in the world. This is a big setup, like a factory. On the other hand, we are actually developing a smaller unit right in our lab. And this small unit is actually fit for household. I'll show you right in the lab that way, and we can all come have a look. What we are really trying to do is to develop a very fast biodiesel machine that is actually a desktop.
What we have out there, how do you compare that to this?
Well, that is an industrial scale. That processes 60 tons in 2 hours. This makes 5 liters every 3 minutes. So it's perfect for a household, for a small company that has a little bit of oil, and they want to convert it into some kind of fuel.
How does it work?
Oh, this is amazing. First of all, we have the waste cooking oil that you see just now. We're gonna pour this a little bit. Now we're gonna slot this in to the reactor. And this is where the magic will happen. So we're gonna put it up. But what happens is the electromagnetic pulse is going around. It keeps going around and around and around, exciting the liquid inside and breaking up, smashing up all the molecules and pulling them apart. And now they are going to be reformed. It's about a minute. We have about 19 seconds.
What's the future potential of a machine like this?
When this machine hits the market, we're going to be able to allow people to make biodiesel.
Everyday people?
Everyday people. We're going to allow people to make it cheaply from waste resource, which is the cooking oil from the fast food restaurants.
Or from somebody's kitchen.
Or
home
Home
kitchen.
kitchen. And this is going to change the way we look at energy of tomorrow. No longer are we going to rely a lot on just fossil fuel or the weather, like the sun. We're going to be able to control what we consume by using what we have wasted.
So, you know, in the past we used to purify water, you know, in the house. Now you're going to make your own diesel in the house too.
Done.
So you have this little timer over here.
Yeah, this is 1 minute, 60 seconds.
So we just made biodiesel.
We just made biodiesel.
Peeta Planet just made biodiesel.
Yeah.
With Alan, of course. Alan made
Alpha
it.
Biofuels made it. We were watching.
You guys helped.
I had my hand on the machine, so
Yeah.
that makes me, you know, part of the...
So this is what happens at the end. Now what we need to do is to use this, and we could pour out the content.
So this is what
This
you
is
use.
less, and then you can see that
And
this
it
is a
became
little
this.
bit more murky. Yeah. Half an hour later, you'll get this.
So it's going to settle...
Yeah.
It's settled, right?
Yeah, and this will settle to become glycerine, and the top is the biodiesel.
So, oh wow, that is just amazing.
I hear a lot of people say they're starting to base themselves in Singapore. I mean, you guys are doing that, obviously, as well.
What do you guys do?
You can go ahead.
We run this company called Roomorama. It's
Roomorama.
It's a one-stop shop for professionally managed short-term accommodations. We started in New York 4 years ago. And then we moved the headquarters to Singapore a year and a half ago.
But how is it? Is it easy to open or to open a small business over here? Is it?
It's a great place. Infrastructure is phenomenal. Everyone speaks English. It's very easy to find talent. So it's really a fast-paced environment, and we enjoy being here right now.
4 or 5 years ago, when they just started, the government just started funding startups, there wasn't really much of an incubation space. Like a lot of us who started back then, we literally worked out of container buildings. Like they'll put stack couple of containers together and we'll just work out from those rooms. And then these days, it's really evolved to the point where, yeah, the startups actually have an entire building to themselves, which is where Whirlpool is actually located.
So you said incubation, so the government is actually incubating businesses here?
Not directly, yeah.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, it's like biotech, so it was quite a while. It was technology for a while, then now back to IDM, more internet rather than hard tech. So through that, for all these industries, there's always a whole slew of schemes, grants, reimbursements, both in terms of manpower, tech overhaul, design. So there's a lot of vendors, so there's a lot of help if you know where to find it. Because sometimes the websites are not very user-friendly. so that opens up a peripheral kind of industry of vendors set up just to help companies, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's true. That is true.
What about you guys? When was that point where you're like, you know what, this crazy idea can work?
Well, you never actually get that fullness of that feeling. There's always a little emptiness there of that fear, of that risk, and you just have to confront it.
Mine is a bit different because I started as a hobby. So my challenge was turning a hobby to a sustainable business. So it's only later that I realized, like, okay, yes, money is important to sustain the company so that we can continue to do good, basically, and to fulfill the goal.
I have a friend who once told me that if you want to be rich, don't ever be an entrepreneur. That's the worst possible reason to get rich. I mean, you go by expected value, right? The probability of of an entrepreneur getting rich. I have a passion for having fun. I have a passion for playing, and by definition, all of us here are already retired because we are doing whatever we love to do.
Hi, good morning, sir. Welcome to Intercontinental Singapore. May I help you?
Is there like an adventure that we can go on here?
Certainly. There's something special place that you should visit. We call it the Macritchie Reservoir, the oldest reservoir in Singapore. And they have a bridge 25 meters above the ground that you can have the panoramic view of the whole reservoir.
This bridge is like suspended in the air,
yes, sir.
overlooking
you can walk
everything?
through the bridge and see the forest.
Wow. We're pretty high up. You know, people think that I'm afraid of heights, but this I'm cool with.
Mohammed, you are afraid of heights. I'm pretty sure you're freaked out right now.
Look, I was just telling somebody that, look, bungeeing scares me. But this is cool.
TS, yes. Shake the thing a little bit and you'll see Mohammed do
no,
it.
Dude.
We can. But what was that you were saying earlier, Mohammed?
Okay, look, it's starting to look a little bit like freaking scary. Holy moly.
It doesn't swing that much as some of those you see in the other part of but it does swing a little bit.
It's very slippery too, so be careful, Mohammed.
Yeah.
Look, when the trees start to like part and get a little bit further away from the bridge, then you really feel how high this is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh.
These trees and plants and things, are these indigenous to Singapore?
Yes, that's the original one, except the golf course.
Anything?
We are so tiny, we are so small that we have to squeeze all our nature reserve next to a golf course.
Look, it's really hard to believe we're in Singapore right now.
Yeah.
For the past few days, you know, we've been in the middle of buildings everywhere, roads.
Yes.
And there's not a human inside over here.
Yes, I told people this is my playground.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. This is your playground?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to?
It's my playground. This is pretty freaking high.
Mohammed, take your hands off the rail for a second.
Dude, I'm trying to like, I'm trying. My mind says take it off.
We got the whole crew over here. Nobody's saying anything except for Mohammed. If I shake this thing just a little.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right.
TS, where do you trek?
There's a hidden track that's from one reservoir to another reservoir. and you can even go around the reservoir.
Yeah.
It can take you a whole day. You could be trekking and then realize that, hey, I was on the other side. So it's...
Mohammed, we can take you to play some golf if you like. And TS and I can trek the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Everyone we met had a unique story to tell and a personal journey, but at their core was a common thread. Singapore cannot ignore the importance of being one with nature and spirituality.
This place is growing rapidly, and that's a great thing. But sustainability concerns have created various opportunities for local groups to mobilize and ensure that the environment remains healthy.
It's important to remember that Singapore is one of the youngest and most ambitious countries in the world, a complex history of multiple ethnicities.
Prior to coming here, we knew Singapore was diverse, but only after experiencing the country did we realize, regardless of the ethnicity you belong to, everyone here is Singaporean above all else. That was great to see.
Arriving during Chinese New Year let us see how different cultures are embraced and shared here. We're encouraged to learn and we're included in every aspect. In a great way, it felt familiar to me. Family, laughter, music, ceremony, games, and the food.
Man, was the food incredible. Singapore lived up to its street food reputation with the hawker centers spread all over the country. Being able to experience those is what I really loved the most.
This is what social travel is all about, a fascination with the unfamiliar, a willingness to feel disrupted, and a longing to reach out and connect with the unknown.
So don't be a tourist, be a social traveler.